I get stuck into the left a lot on this channel, and often with good reason. But in the context of a modern nation state, I can see their role, at least theoretically. I mean, the left at their best are supposed to expose the corruptions in government and in corporations. They're supposed to give a voice to the voiceless, represent the downtrodden. Yet the modern left has become a sort of crazed parody of itself. It's having a cancerous effect on Western culture. Gone are the old school northern working men like Fred Dibner. You might not agree with them on everything, but you can respect them. In are the weird twinks, the sexually androgynous, the people draped in weird colours like they're an LGBTQ flag come to life. Alongside them is a gaggle of people with origins in the third world who all hate us for some strange reason and seem to think they're the real British people. What makes it even weirder is these people often have much more conservative views than the average Westerner, but for some reason they get a pass. I imagine it's because they're diverse and ergo they're oppressed in the left-wing worldview. Now I'm saying all this because I've seen two prominent examples of how our mainstream media manufactures consent from the people for the aims of the globalist liberal system. Now, one is a movie called The Old Oak by famed socialist director Ken Loach. It's about a Syrian migrant who turns up somewhere in Tyne and Wear. And the other is a documentary on Channel 4 called Go Back to Where You Came From. And both are essentially emotive pieces which are designed to make British people feel guilty about being anti-immigration. It shows that they're just thick, that they don't understand how the world really works, but, clever lefties who are more moral than them are going to show them. And by more moral than you, I mean people like Bushra Sheikh. She takes some people around Syria. She states here, this proud British Pakistani Muslim just landed herself another TV show in the UK through her hard work. She will never let hate win. This is why extremist Hindutva Indians, racists and Islamophobes dislike her. While they cry, she'll keep winning. And here's Bushra showing how she's not going to let hate win. She states here European Jews are the biggest charlatans on the planet and they're a bunch of lying scumbags. She also says she stands by it, nobody is born gay and being gay is wrong. Now, I don't care if Bushra has ultra-conservative Islamic views and has an ethnic blood feud with Jews. It's none of my business. My problem is, if a white British person said these sort of sentiments, they'd be looking at a lengthy jail spell. However, Bushra is morally better than us, don't you know, because she's pro-mass immigration and gets mandated documentaries to make on Channel 4. Just quickly as well, you may have noted I used the phrase manufacturing consent. That's very much on purpose. At university, like most lefties of the time, I read the book Manufacturing Consent, The Political Economy of Mass Media by Noam Chomsky. Now, alright, Noam Chomsky, I know, it's a bit corny, it's a bit Rage Against the Machine, take your vaccines and wave your gay flags and rebel, just like Barclays Bank and all that. However, there are some interesting points made in this book that show us how modern media works. The argument is essentially that those who fund mainstream media essentially control the editorial line, and certain projects just won't get greenlit if they're too controversial. Now, as I say, that's a very good point. That's what the left should be doing. However, Chomsky, like most leftists, tend to completely ignore that this same process happens in left-wing interests. After all, that's why movies like The Old Oak and Go Back to Where You Came From get greenlit. It's in the interests of the globalist liberal regime. So let's have a quick watch of the trailer of The Old Oak. 30 seconds of this will give you a strong understanding about the moral tale here.
For you.
Alright, lad.
How come they're getting all that stuff?
They've lost everything. They've left a war zone.
She's taking your photo there.
You better delete that photo. They're just kids, man. Let them get in the house and get settled, man. I'm really sorry that happened. Can't say I'm surprised. If you had the stuff that come out within the pub.
This has become a dumping ground, lads.
We've been in this village all our lives, and we're supposed to share it with that lot who don't even know them.
Thank you for your kindness when we arrived. I really appreciate it. My name is Yara, by the way. What's yours?
Tommy Joe Ballantyne.
Now, I'm sure you get the idea. It's a fairly typical liberal leftist Disney worldview. The immigrants come in and they're sweet and noble and have been hard done by. The British working class are stupid dunderheads who can barely tie their own shoelaces. And of course, over the course of the film, they'll learn that violence isn't the answer, that they have more in common than they do in difference, that they need to stand together against the evil lies of the right-wing media and the bigoted inheritance of their own culture. Now, I'm not implying that there aren't people coming from various parts of the world who haven't been through horrible, often brutal things that would move absolutely anybody, but my problem is our liberal mainstream media uses these tragedies essentially to imply that mass immigration and diversity is a moral good that should be accepted by all reasonable people. For instance, you can make an emotive movie on any topic for political propaganda purposes. Imagine we have a movie with a plot about a British man who leaves England and goes to live somewhere else in the world. He comes back 25 years later to find his hometown has been essentially taken over. There are no British people there anymore. Nobody speaks English. As he digs a bit deeper, he finds out there's been a grooming gang scandal in his town with brutal, often horrendous rapes going on. Now that would be a brave movie to make, but we know it would never get greenlit. It would be perpetuating far-right narratives, don't you know? And of course that's because it wouldn't get any funding, because it's not in the interests of the globalist system. And this is why movies by old socialists like Ken Loach are so out of time now. I don't doubt the sincerity of his socialist beliefs, but now he's just a useful idiot for globalist liberalism. As I've said many times on this channel, I'm not pro any form of violence, I don't like being mean to anybody, I just have one central moral belief, and that's that Europe should remain in the hands of the Europeans. It's wrong to make them a minority in their own continent, and that is what's happening. This issue is a lot bigger than a few Syrians turning up in Tyneside. It's a perfectly ethical belief to hold to, but that ethical belief must be swamped from every angle by the liberalist system by claims of being idiotic, stupid, violent, and hateful. And I'm sure there are pockets of people who behave in violent and horrible ways around this issue. That's why I was anti the riots as well. Not only were they unethical in and of themselves, but also they were absolute gold to the liberalist system. It allowed them to point the finger to the country and say, see, this is the anti-mass immigration people, this is the anti-diversity people. Do you want to be like them? Savages, thugs. Yet like millions of people, I don't want to hate anybody, I don't want to hurt anybody. I'm just sick and tired of the people asking the system time and time again to limit mass migration and the system doing nothing, in fact doing the opposite and ramping it up year on year. And to rub salt in the wound, we get propaganda pieces by the mainstream media conducted by people who have illiberal views of their own about Jewish people and gays. However, they get a free pass because they're diverse or something.
It's like rats. If you leave food out, they'll keep coming. Go back to where you come from, don't come here. Is there anybody in the government or local authorities that can help you?
والله ما حكومة ما بي ولا حد يطالب.
وتعرف انت على معلومك الولاد يعني يلقطون بالحوايا وكذا نقدر نعيش يعني.
Now, I don't know about you, but I struggle to believe that this guy isn't a plant of some sorts. I mean, given the behaviour of the Starminator and modern Britain, would you really go on national TV and say immigrants are like rats? And to ask Syrians whether they have a local authority to go to when we all know that their country has been ripped apart by Islamic radicalism? I mean, you could argue he's not the sharpest tool in the shed and didn't know that, but by the time you land there and see that everything is basically rubble, I think even someone with an IQ of 40 would understand that they don't have local authorities. Now remember, Channel 4 is very middle-class, left-wing, liberal aligned, so it's basically the thing that Guardian newspaper readers watch, and they love nothing more than to hate working-class white people. That's why this guy's perfect for them. They can point at him and say, look at this stupid, idiotic bigot. Not only is he not moral, like us good Guardian readers, he's also stupid with it. But of course he gets his shot at redemption at the end with Bushra acting as some sort of priest of progressivism. Now he'll come home and be pro-mass migration and pro-diversity, like a good Guardian reader.
But the worst thing is, I'll probably want to take all these with me. Yeah.
And now you learn, you stupid bigot.
How come no one's helping them? I'll beg anyone to go and see that. Or I'd probably say don't go and see it, because that's going to traumatise me.
Now, as you can see, they did lay on the propaganda a bit thick, so thick it got a mediocre review from The Guardian, which said it had the whiff of white saviorism. Which is somewhat ironic given white saviorism is the whole editorial line of the Guardian newspaper. However, I hope you understand what I'm getting at in this video. I'm not trying to demean the struggles of people going through hard times around the world. I'm open to being compassionate to them where possible. Yet to be able to help others, you need to be in a coherent and stable state yourself, and modern Britain is far from that. Yet balance, order and harmony is not what our liberalist system is concerned with. What it's concerned with is a weird coalition between left-wing utopian ideology on one side and corporate business on the other. Essentially, the money power in the Western world is more than happy to engage in left-wing ideology to promote mass migration and thereby keep wages low, and if they can do that, they have an unending workforce for their business. This is why projects such as the Old O Can Go Back to Where You Came From are gleefully greenlit. While old-school socialists like Ken Loach may well have deluded but sincere beliefs in their own moral worldview, they are essentially just tools to manufacture consent. It does seem that more and more people are waking up to the propaganda mind, and that is probably a precursor to the system turning from soft power and control to hard power down the line, but as I've said many times, that is the precursor to rebirth. It means the system is starting to fall apart. I wrote about that yesterday on the Substack. Do check it out down below if you're interested. Otherwise, let me know your thoughts. Do consider subscribing if you're new, and do have a pleasant rest of the day.